The pattern with whooping cough is, of course, not unique to that disease, as Dr. Viera Scheibner will show us. She is a retired principal research scientist who by now has studied well over 60,000 pages of orthodox medical research articles on the subject, also culminating in a book.
It is a well-documented fact that the incidence and mortality from infectious diseases like measles, whooping cough, rubella, mumps fell by 90% before any vaccine has even been introduced. The mortality from diphtheria between 1900 and 1960, you can see that there was a steady downward trend in mortality from diphtheria long before any treatment has been introduced. And topsoil is vaccine. And you can see that even after the introduction of the treatment and the vaccine, the downward trend simply continued. This is death rate for measles between 1900 and 1960. Again, you can see steady downward trend in mortality from measles without any vaccine. There comes the vaccine here, and it was already at the tail end of mortality from measles. So there must have been other factors than vaccines that caused the observed fall in the mortality from infectious diseases.
Also, as you can see from these graphs, the introduction of the vaccine was not followed by any acceleration in the decline. And, sure enough, an analysis of figures for outbreaks since does not show the vaccinated to be any more protected than the unvaccinated. For example, in an epidemic of whooping cough in Sweden in the late 70s, 84% of the population were vaccinated, and yet the percentage of cases known to be vaccinated was at least 84%. So, as an explanation, vaccinators speak of a principle of herd immunity. Their definition of this term, which is quite different from what it originally meant, is that at least 95% of the population must be vaccinated to prevent an outbreak. But does this work in practice? To find out, we need only look at the United States, where vaccination is compulsory for school entry. Dr. Scheibner will describe a situation which actually occurs very often soon after a vaccination program. In this case, it was in Corpus Christi, Texas, where they had just ensured that 99% were vaccinated, of whom 95% developed antibodies.
An outbreak of measles occurred among adolescents in Corpus Christi, Texas, in the spring of 1985, even though vaccination requirements for school attendance had been thoroughly enforced. And of course, this is not some sort of a rare occurrence. Epidemics in fully vaccinated populations are a rule rather than an exception.
But many doctors say that we must have had great success with the HIV vaccine, because HIV has dropped since it was introduced a few years ago. Well, let's have a look at a breakdown by age relating to its phased introduction in the United States.
This is the incidence of Haemophilus influenza meningitis in children less than 5 years old. This is between 1980 and 1991. Here you have the incidence of bacterial meningitis in children younger than 1 year. These are 1-year-olds, and these are 2 to 4-year-olds. The fluctuations, and particularly the fall in the incidence of meningitis in children younger than 1 year and in 1-year-olds, had nothing to do with vaccination, because the vaccine